is Marko Rodin. It's August, late August. We're in Sedona, 2025. This is my work on DNA, showing that the evolution is not haphazard, random, trial and error. It is an all-coherent, invisible, higher dimensional flux field of divine intelligence that's guiding all evolution. That controls mitosis, sister strand, DNA unraveling. It controls the cleavage and receptor sites for the amino acids. The major groove is in between the two strands. The strands are made out of phosphates. Phosphates always have a negative electric charge. Of course, with any negative electric charge, there's always an associated magnetic field. But in between the magnetic field is what we call spirit. It's unique in that it travels in a straight line. It's irresistible, penetrates everything. Only magnetism can give slippage and free play to spirit, going as when the spirit's going forward, the magnetism is going backwards. And that symbol there, we call God's light cone, that symbol right there. So it's literally God's nerve endings, sensory nerve endings. It gives feedback to evolution so that it guides evolution. Because this is essentially a template of perfection. It proves that there's such a thing as absolutes, fixed constants. This is how I took the again, this applies to DNA into the torus. We applied it to the Great Pyramid. It's in everything. We applied it to the Fibonacci sequence. This is showing recursion. 1, 2, 4, 8, 7, 5, 1, 2, 4, 8, 7, 5, 1, 2, 4, 8, 7, 5. Where is that coming from? Because 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64. But 6 plus 4 is 10 equals 1. 128 equals 11 is 2. 256 equals 13 is 4. Infinity, the binary code, is really a closed inverting loop. We call them Mobius circuits. So after 256 is 512 equals 8. 1024 7. 2048 equals 14 equals 5. It's over and over again. 1, 2, 4, 7. So they thought the binary code for computers and biology and nuclear chain reaction was endless, but it's not infinite of direction. It's an infinity of duration. Everything's and it makes a torus. So here's one circuit going up to the left, one coming down to going to the right, one going to the left. 396, 693, which is tangential. It's really along the W axis. I took the most great name of God out of the Baha'i faith. I decrypted it because I wanted to say the precise mystic intonation for meditation, for mantra, for worshiping, because the brain's an antenna that transmits and receives between ourselves, each other, and God. And we can get inspiration and get illumination and come to know what you have not known through the most great name of God, which I took out of the Baha'i faith. You can look up the Baha'i faith, type in Baha'i temples, Baha'i gardens. I did all my math and then created all this new technology so people would read the Baha'i scriptures. There's the hidden words, the 7 valleys and the 4 valleys, the book of certitude. They're the most priceless, valuable thing anyone could ever peruse. Okay, so in the Bible, the Torah, the Quran, you have Aramaic in the Bible. The Quran, you have Arabic. You have the Torah, Hebrew. All their alphabets, the Aleph is always the number 1. It is their counting system. They say it's a spiritual language. The sound embodies the essence of what it's describing. I took the name of God, which is taught in the scriptures, the source of all creation, and I made it into a perfect, ideal, absolutely all coherent, no friction, no resistance, superconducting torus, where the magnetic fields are in between the conductors are woven in spires, and it creates a shear between the different windings, so that when they touch, they won't short circuit out. I call it the electron harmonic shear.
And what is that for?
Superconductivity, and you can turn it into a nozzle. You can make it into a spacecraft. You can turn it into an electrical venturi. You can use it for power generation, propulsion, anything you can use it for. A hypercomputer. I call it the decacubic. Gets rid of all.
And you figured this out.
Mm-hmm.
This is your model.
Mm-hmm. No, it's always existed in the universe from time before to time after.
Yeah.
It's eternal. I have found eternity. So what happens is this is I don't know which prime number, but looks like it's 7 squared. So it's mod 49 base 50. We'll be doing videos in the coming weeks, a whole bunch of video series, like 300 episodes, to preserve this and to go into extreme detail. If you type in my web domain, markorodin.com, markorodin.com, it'll take you to my YouTube page and you can subscribe and you can learn all this. And because we'll go into great depth in the videos. So this is the universe, it's a lattice, it's a net, everything in the universe. Spirit travels in a straight line out from the center of mass. It's not an ether, it's an inertia ether, because it is renewed and it's refreshed. We live in the kingdom of emanation, and that straight line of spirit causes the rest of the universe to warp, process, and curve. That's why all mass can't travel on a straight line. On the third dimension, mass, it does not have, there are no horizontal or vertical straight lines. And so pi was solved, but we put the hole back into the center of the sphere. You can never, every time people abuse pi, the hole, you can't go through the hole. The hole can only be defined because since everything warps and processes on the third dimension, it creates an aperture. It goes around the lip of the hole, but never through the hole. And that's a set, predetermined pathway that energy follows as it flows into the future. And so I was able to figure that out by creating a numerical interferometry. This is showing where it inverts in the center. And so with trying to bisect hole in pi, pi is incorrect. It's not an endless non-repeating decimal. Okay, pi is a whole number. There's no irrational numbers. There's no endless non-repeating decimal numbers because you can't abuse 0. You have to have a hole in the center of the circle and nothing goes through it, or you would have logjam and everything would back up. The hole would incinerate, it would overheat. This is really a heat dissipation refrigeration mechanism of compression, decompression, implosion, explosion. So it goes on forever. So all of the things that I just said need to be animated. This is a lot of animation right here. This is taking the multiplication series and showing what are called family number groups, polar number mates, showing the Mobius circuits that come in pairs. Base 10 has 2, which is 3 squared mod 9. Base 26 has 4 circuits or 2 pair, which is 5. Did I say 49? Mod 26 base 26 mod 25 5 squared, which is an x prime after 3. There's 2 circuits. 4 circuits and 2 pair. And then 7 squared mod 49 base 50. There's 4 circuits, 3 pair. Every time you increase a prime, this is the pattern for primes. Everyone's trying to figure it out with 2D. You have to square primes to get a pattern. And then it makes a hypersphere, a torus. And each time that you go up the next in series prime number, you will increase 1 pair of conductors. And this eliminates prime encryption and why is prime so important, significant? We call it prime number squared, the creation equation. The reason it's so significant is because prime represents every word of God reveals God according to the capacity of which it was created. And the world of mathematics, primes are the apex, the pinnacle, the peak, the zenith, because they're indivisible and they're the axis. They're the secret of the gyroscope. The axis is never changing. And only 9 on the axis, which is 360, lines up over the 0 right there, because 9 has no parity. Then everything else lines up horizontally. So this all has to be animated. I know, Ramsey, I spoke so fast that you don't even... And this is just, again, showing the shear 1, shear 4, and shear 7 for the base 10 system.
And this is just the tip of the iceberg.
Tip of the iceberg.
How deep does this get?
This is why I'm famous, because I make such outrageous claims. But it's true. You can end all disease, produce unlimited food, go anywhere in the universe, not have to return back to Earth for fuel. There's absolutely nothing you cannot do without this mathematics. It's called vortex-based mathematics. Essentially, it proves that nature is expressing herself with numbers, that numbers are real and alive. A number can never be created or destroyed. But what I was able to do is piece them back together based on the activation sequence, the moment event of occurrence. As spirit verifies the torus skin, it creates a number. It reticulates torus skin. So these are underpinning nested vortices. I'm showing how it scales from micro to macro. That's a hologram. You can take out any section and it'll rebuild itself instantly. It's the ultimate discovery. I won't patent it. I won't copyright it. Yeah, I'm throwing it to the winds.
And this book explains how everything.
So it survives.
This book explains how everything works.
Everything, no matter what it is. Everything. Okay.
And this book can be found on your website.
You know, Karen put a lot of time into this to do it, so I took the one down from my website and just put a link where it's available on Amazon. But the classes will be free on YouTube.
Okay.
And the book should, I'll probably, I'm going to put a study guide up and put that for free on YouTube too. And I don't monetize my YouTube channel either. So if there's any ads, it's because it came from Google, not me.
Alright. They want to make free money off of it.
Well, here are any even amount of numbers will always equal 9. So there they are. All this has to be animated. And then I want to animate all the different mathematical enigmas and show how they're solved using this. So there's 3 squared, 5 squared, 7 squared. The first 3 primes. From there I thought everybody would be able to figure it out. It's a huge breakthrough. I could explain a lot more stuff, but if I did,
this code was created by you?
Lazar made that one, and he did a beautiful job. And
but it was with your
schematic, my blueprints. I do the schematics for everybody. And everybody's so off. I don't really want a stranded enamel coated magnetic wire. I wanted to actually use a plasma, or I wanted a screen printer. If you understand the principles, this is an absolute. This is the ideal. Yes, people make a lot of mistakes. Sometimes they use stranded wire. They don't get. This is where the underpinning nested vortices occur. That gap space for the high dimensional. The flux field is all concentrated in there. The saying is, this he who controls magnetism controls the universe. And this is the secret of magnetism. So we'll be giving classes. Ramsey, you've been with me. We went to Humankind. We've talked with people there. Mm-hmm. We're lining it up for September and October to do classes. But if I started explaining this right now, we'd go on for hours. Hours and hours. And hours.
So the sun go up and it goes back down, you still be talking.
Yeah.
So what is so important about this to you?
Because they think you can count any base number counting system today. That's false. Can you
repeat that?
In computer science, every programmer, every computer engineer was taught that it's arbitrary what base number counting system that you count in. That you can be hexadecimal, you can be base 15, base 12, base 21, binary code, all false. 2 is not a prime. Anything appears binary is an optical illusion. The minimum parts of anything is 3. 3 is the first 2 prime. When you square a prime, you make a 3D multiplication table, which I've done here in the torus, the hypersphere. When you make no other number other than a prime squared will make a 3D number counting system. And a 3D system is a hypersphere, and it allows you to create what's called a hypercomputer. It's a direct connection, all connected through us to the axis. Mm-hmm. There's no pitch or yaw, there's no entropy, there's no friction, parasitics, random collision, and it creates for electricity or any continuous medium what's called the longest mean free pathway of least resistance. It makes everything longest mean free pathway of least resistance. Mm-hmm. In other words, I turn anything into a superfluid, into a superconductor, just by creating the right lattice, the right geometry, which then the higher dimensions all occupy the gap space. And if you get the lower dimension, the 3rd dimension right, everything above that will work well, will work right as well.
So just assuming a superconductor, explaining it to a 5-year-old will be like, you know how you go down a slide and it has friction. That's how the copper and electricity work. It has some friction and it kind of holds you back and it creates heat. But with a superconductor, it's like going on on the ice slide where it just goes with
Well,
without creating
that's a good
resistance.
analogy because, see, every slide has a different grade. It can be a very acute grade slide, or it can be a gradual slope. And so what happened is I braid my coils in spires in such a way as that it's woven that the slope is very gradual. It's not very steep. When you do a conventional coil, the turns are like this, and they're very steep, and they're side by side. And what happens is that creates a toroidal field. But the Rodin coil, this is named after me, produces what is called a poloidal field. Poloidal,
This
which
is called
is a total different kind of field.
okay.
It's a whole. Everybody thinks there's only one kind of magnetic
This is
field.
called the Rodin coil.
They named it after me.
Okay.
So there's a picture of it being wound. There's the schematics. There's how everything's done. So this is enough of an introduction. This is, again, the winding schematics. There's a gap space for the underpinning nested vortices, which are staggered on the torus. In DNA, the world boundary conditions, the underpinning nested vortices are aligned. This is enough introduction. This all needs to be storyboarded, scripted, and then put into animation. And that's what we're trying to do. And now you're an artist, and so you can see,
And how do you plan to change the world with this? What is your mission with this?
the level of civilization is never more advanced than this mathematics. If this is known, if people read the Baha'i scriptures, I expect them to, that's my goal, then they would be Baha'is. And they would find that it's the most priceless possession they could ever have. They wouldn't ever think of being separated even for a second from the Baha'i scripture. And it's called the Day of God. And nobody speaking. This is the age of the spiritual maturity of mankind. The youngest babe in this age is wiser than the oldest wise men of the past. And it's called progressive revelation. Roughly every millennium there's a new prophet. Before Baha'u'llah was the Bab, and then before that was Muhammad. Before Muhammad, they believed in Christ. Before Christ, they believed in Moses. Everyone's failed to recognize the most current manifestation of God prophet, which is the prophet in the Baha'i faith scriptures. They don't realize that religion is renewed roughly every millennium, and that there is a new book, a new revelation, new laws and teaching. When you're following the older religions, you don't realize it expired and that it was written for an earlier people of a different capacity, of a more primitive time. And so that's just the tip of the iceberg. I can loan you this book if you'd like to read it and bring it back in a few days. I was going to scan it in. I got a lot of scanning to do. Oh, it's in the car. I think it's in the car.
Yeah, we can get it.
To be scanned. Yeah. Ouch. So I was going to loan you one of my favorite Baha'i scriptures.
So I heard you the other day. You told me that you discover God and how God works, or spirit and God with your formula.
Most people think it's spirit as an endowment. But what I do with spirit is I treat it technically. I harness it because it's like the wind or a stream's water flowing in a stream's bed. You can tap into it, and so I use it to create over unity, zero point energy, free energy.
Mm-hmm. This is to create free energy.
That's what all this.
And all of this connects with God and the universe and how things work.
I know so. I've established that and demonstrated that to myself. But now you have to prove it to yourself by reading the Baha'i scriptures. The Book of Certitude, for me to be able to understand it, I've read it over 50 times. It took that long to deepen in the Baha'i scriptures and understand them and learn them. But hopefully, when I give the classes, you'll come and you'll interview all of us, and you'll record all of us, and you'll, and we'll have this in such a way as that people can understand it, where it's it's presented simply and it's acquired easily. But right now it's a very hard thing to understand without the animation. That's why we need the animation.
And this interview was not planned. We were not ready. It's purely raw, and hopefully someday you'll be able to present with more preparation. But everything you said, it's hard for me to process. Thank you.
We had a full day today. We visited friends at the hospital, went marketing, tried to get them to stop leaving pallets of water in the sun in 120 degrees at Safeway Supermarket, which they said everybody does it. It's a national. That's how the vendors do it, and nobody cares whether the water bakes and leaches PFAs and BPA and all the chemicals into the water. They just leave it in the back of the supermarket, sitting on the asphalt in 120 degrees. A whole container is worth of water, every brand, just cooking in the sun. Yeah, they don't care about people. They don't care about that they're getting a toxic soup cocktail. Same as Goodwill. I'm about to do an article for the newspaper on them. They sell hundreds of scratched up at just the store alone here in Sedona, of scratched up Teflon pots and pans that are giving off
flora and the chemicals, and
it's deadly, just deadly. And they're supposed to go to a landfill, instead they just resell them to people.
And why is all of this important to you?
Because to suffer and die in misery with cancer or Teflon leaches PFAs, forever chemicals, and it's an endocrine disruptor. When people can't get out of bed because of chronic fatigue and they're dying, it's because of the fact that the environmental pollution. It's just tragic. That's why it's important to me.
Okay.
Thank you.
And I thank you for being my first guest, Marko Rodin. Thank you.